Hi, my name's Daryl. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about an issue which affects all JL Wranglers and Gladiators, and that is corrosion on the aluminum body panels. So back in 2018, when the JL Wrangler was introduced, Jeep wanted to improve the fuel efficiency on the Wrangler, and one of the ways they did this was by reducing weight. So they switched from steel body panels to aluminum body panels in the doors, in the hood, in the tailgate, on the windshield frame, and also on the hinges. Now, how Jeep Wranglers and Gladiators are constructed, they actually do the painting of the vehicle after the hinges are placed onto the doors and onto the Wrangler. And so what happens is, because they install these hinges over bare aluminum, water or precipitation, moisture can get underneath those hinges as well as into the seams of the doors or these panels. And basically when that moisture, when it makes contact with that raw aluminum, that's when the corrosion process can begin. Now you should know that this issue not only affects Wranglers and Gladiators, but really a lot of Stellantis vehicles that use aluminum body panels. So if you look at this TSB, which is from 2023, it shows all the different vehicles that this TSB basically corresponds to. And so it does seem though that the Wranglers are more affected than the other vehicles, but we probably get our Wranglers a little dirtier and wetter than these other vehicles. Now luckily, there is a 5-year corrosion and paint warranty that does cover this issue, and that 5-year warranty starts from the in-service date, so basically when that vehicle was first purchased and put into service. Now, if you do happen to notice this particular issue after that 5-year warranty has expired, you are going to have to pay for it out of your own pocket, and it can get pretty expensive. So I've seen when you have to replace all the panels and you have to paint, it costing over $20,000. So it's really important if you do currently own a Wrangler or a JL Wrangler or Gladiator, or you're considering purchasing one, you need to make sure that you do a real thorough job of inspecting that vehicle for this particular issue. So this is my 2020 Bikini Pearl Wrangler, and luckily I don't have the corrosion yet, but I want to cover the areas that you should look at really closely when you're looking at your Jeep or looking at buying a used one. So for the first area, you want to look at basically all of these hinges. And what you want to do is look really closely, but also you want to use your fingers to feel. Because sometimes you'll feel a little bubble, but you won't actually see it. So you really want to go across all of the paint and where the hinge attaches to that body panel to see if you see any of these bubbles. Sometimes you'll see them along here, sometimes you'll see them right here on the actual hinge, okay? And then you want to do the same thing on the other one, right? So now you have 2 hinges on each door. You have 2 hinges on the hood that you want to look at, and you also have 2 hinges on the tailgate. So the other thing that you're going to want to look real closely at is the door frame. So often corrosion will show up either on the top, on the side, or especially at the bottom of the door frame. So you want to put your finger and feel around for any potential bubbles. And it's kind of weird, the bubbles, they're actually hard. And so you would think they kind of look soft and would be spongy, but they're not. They're actually hard because it's the frame and the paint is just kind of stretching. Now, when you're looking at the door, also open the door up. And then you're going to want to look at this seam right here, where also corrosion and moisture can get in. Oops. And so you're going to want to look real closely at that. So really the corrosion can start behind here, and then it makes its way over onto the actual frame of the door. And so basically for every panel, you want to do a real thorough inspection on not only the hinges, but actually the frame of the door. And you want to do that as well with the hood. So not only look at the hinge, looking at the entire frame of the hood, making sure that there is no corrosion. And I didn't know about this, but just recently they started talking about corrosion showing up on the frame of the windshield. And so you also need to check the frame of the windshield very closely. So if you do happen to notice this corrosion showing up on your Wrangler and it's within that 5-year period, and even if it's just outside of that 5-year period, you need to take it right away to your Jeep dealership. And you need to have them inspect it. And basically they'll take pictures of it and they'll send it off to this organization called Jeep Cares. And they will then get approval to actually have the work start, and they'll start ordering parts to get your Jeep repaired. Now, there is sometimes a back order because this is happening with so many Wranglers and Gladiators that there is sometimes a backlog of repairs to be done, and so don't expect it to be done right away. I've heard people sometimes waiting upwards of a year to actually get the service performed. But you really need to make sure that you stay on top of it. You want to take meticulous records. So whoever you spoke to, whatever paperwork that they gave you, make sure you write down their names, make sure you write down everything. Typically somebody from Jeep Cares will assign a case manager to that particular Jeep for this issue. You probably want to talk to your service advisor when they take the vehicle in or when they inspect it. Just get the name of the person who is going to be basically your case manager for that for this repair. You need to assume that there's going to be problems along the way. I hate to say that, but there's been a lot of people that have had issues getting these things repaired. Sometimes it can be difficult just to find a Jeep dealership that will actually do the work because they have to have a body shop and they have to be able to do that paint repair. So that can be difficult, number one, and then actually getting them to do the work, it takes a little bit of time. So you need to stay really on top of this process, keep meticulous records, and basically every couple of weeks or every month, be annoying. Call and say, hey, where is this at? Where am I in the process? How many people are in front of me in the queue? Those kinds of things. Now, this corrosion can happen anywhere in the country, but as I did mention, this is primarily an issue with basically moisture getting onto that bare aluminum. So if you do happen to have your Wrangler and you happen to have it back east where there's a lot of snow and a lot of rain, you're probably more likely to see this issue, especially if you don't keep your Wrangler garaged. Now, when I was doing my search for a Wrangler, I knew about this issue, and so I was paying really close attention to where the Wrangler lived its life. So I only wanted to get a Wrangler that lived in the Southwest. I live in Las Vegas, and so we don't have too much rain and we don't have much humidity. And so I was hoping as long as I got a car from the Southwest, I wouldn't have this issue. And for the most part, most of the cars that I've seen in the Southwest, they really don't have that much corrosion. I did look at, because we have a lot of rental cars, Hawaii has a lot of rental cars that they send over to the West Coast. And so I called them Hawaiian specials. And so whenever I saw one of those, I always took a look at it. And yeah, they always had corrosion just all over them. So I'm actually going to go to a used dealership, used Jeep dealership today. And I'm going to take some pictures and some video of one of the Hawaiian specials. So we'll see what I see. Yeah, so here's what I'm talking about. So this is a 2020. This is one of those Hawaiian specials. And you can see the corrosion that is built up underneath the hinge right here. So you got to get it at an angle just to see. On this hinge, you don't really see it so much. But then going back over to this hinge right here, so you can see how it's showing up on this one right here. And so this is pretty typical. Now this is a really bad one. You can see all of the corrosion down on the door panel right here. You can see all that. And so that's something that you really got to pay close attention to, especially on these cars that have spent a lot of time out in the weather. And so you'll see it's actually starting to chip off here. So some of the paint has actually come off on the side. And you can see over here as well, the paint is starting to chip. And this is all because of the corrosion. Yeah, so basically every body panel, every hinge. Oh, look at this right here. So this is really bad. And this is just a random car that I know is a Hawaiian special. and I knew likely that it was going to have some corrosion on it. So another contributing factor is how clean you keep your Wrangler. Now, I'm not saying that if it's really dirty, it's more likely to have happen, but let's say you take your Jeep in to get a car wash every week and you happen to use one of those high pressure touchless car washes. Well, they spray water at such a high pressure that might be exacerbating the situation. And so, yeah, I would recommend that if you do have a Wrangler, I would wash it myself or take it to some place that doesn't use one of those high pressure systems, because that might actually make that corrosion happen sooner rather than later. Now, Jeep did make a small change in regard to the design of the hinge, and I think this was relatively recent. Basically, they put like a zinc protective cover on the bottom of the hinge that kind of, I guess maybe it protects that bare aluminum just a little bit better, or maybe it takes some of the brunt of the corrosion. But yeah, I don't know how successful that will be. And I think they only started doing that for the 2024 model year. I don't think this issue is going to get totally resolved until the next generation of Wrangler is introduced, where they can kind of change the manufacturing process to account for this corrosion. Now, I did previously mention the TSB. There was one, and there's been a number of revisions to the TSB technical service bulletins that talk about this particular issue. And I think the last one was March 4th of 2023. And in this one, they actually made some changes in regards to how they handle the repair. So when we were looking at the door and we were looking at the seams that are kind of on the bottom and the side of the door, basically if you've got corrosion in those seams, that's kind of a situation where it can't be repaired. So you actually need to get the entire door or the entire panel replaced. And the same sort of situation, so as they're doing the repair to the door or whatever it is that they're fixing, and one of the things that they have to do is they have to take all the paint off. And as they're taking the paint off, if they still have large pits, basically where that corrosion kind of intruded on that aluminum panel, that's another reason why they don't want it actually to be repaired. They want that whole panel to be replaced and then painted. Now, one of the things that I would push for, especially if you've got a color like the Bikini Pearl, I think some of the white cars might be a little bit easier to color match, but certainly for this Bikini Pearl, if I had this particular issue, color matching this is very difficult. And so you really want to get not just the panels painted, but you really want to get the entire Jeep painted so that it looks right. So I would push for that very hard. Now, there is a internet or a Facebook group called the JL Corrosion Information. And this group has been around, I think, for a couple of years or so when they first found out about this. And so this is a really good group that you can get the most latest information about this particular issue. And you can also find out, how people are doing with the process and how long it's taking them. And so it's very helpful. So if you are a current owner of a Gladiator or a JL Wrangler, you probably should become part of that group and just, keep touch with it. Now, as I said before, this can be a very costly repair. So if you want to do it right, you're likely going to have to replace all the panels and have to get your entire Jeep repainted. So to do it right can cost on average upwards of $20,000. And so if you are a Wrangler owner, really pay close attention to your paint. And sometimes it can start just like that and then it can spread. And so it's something that you want to keep an eye on very closely. And hopefully, yeah, if you do notice it within that 5-year period, get it in and get it fixed. And especially for those of you looking for a used Wrangler, pay very close attention to where the Wrangler has lived, where it's spent its life. And that's one of the first things that you should look for when you're inspecting a Wrangler, is looking for that corrosion. So if you could do me a big favor, please like this video and also share it with your Jeeper friends and family. The more people that know about this issue, the less people that are going to get screwed over. I still hear about people all the time not knowing about this issue. And it's really important, if you're going to make an investment in a Wrangler, or if you have an existing Wrangler, that you know about this and you get it straightened out. So yeah, that would be awesome. So this is a relatively new channel and endeavor for me. I'm a brand new Jeeper, but I am creating a lot of Jeep Wrangler content, especially for the beginners, because I am a beginner. And so if you found this video useful, or if you are a beginner, please also consider subscribing to my channel. and I hope to see you in the next one again very soon.